are doing a virtual Zoom allowed by the governor. And I'm just going to do a roll call to make sure that we can all be heard. So Beth?
Here.
Julie?
Here.
John?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Andy?
Here.
Doug?
Here.
Prabhu?
Here.
Okay, Mary here. Ron and Mark are here.
Yep.
Okay, great. Let's minutes. Do we have minutes from last time that we need to approve that Beth sent out last time? Everybody had a chance to look at those? Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Somebody want to second that?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, those in favor, Beth,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
and Mary, I declare that motion carried. Okay, we're up to bills.
So I make a motion to pay $1,600 to Colliers for professional services rendered through 5/31/2003.
Somebody want to second that?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments about it?
This is Mark, just to jump in. This invoice was in response to a change order that this committee approved probably a year ago for Colliers to essentially recommission. You know, they had done their commissioning, and then if you remember, we had an issue with the veterans and additional control work, and so Colliers had essentially recommissioned everything again. So when they submitted this bill, I think it was back in April, they had gone through a couple project managers, or a few at that time. And I think they just thought, this is an old invoice, this project's done, we should bill 100%. But at that time, they actually hadn't done the work, and they pushed back a little bit. They actually wanted more money to do what they're contractually obligated to do. We sorted that out. They have since completed their work. They did their final commissioning report. We just had a job meeting at 4 o'clock with Beth and Ron. That report is with the lead consultant, and everything's going to be uploaded to the lead shortly. So we're almost finally through that commissioning and lead related process. So the work reflected in this invoice has since been completed.
Okay, Andy, do you still have a question on that, or did that answer it?
I mean, yeah, I think I still do.
Sure.
Because the request was, I think, to get a more itemized view. I mean, I defer to the rest of the committee, but I'm not sure that fully answers the question that was asked.
What was the specific question? Just an itemized view?
Yeah, we just felt like you know, it wasn't itemized at all, so we have no idea who was a part of these meetings, you know, what level they came in at, the amount of hours that were spent on this meeting. You know, it was
So
this
this isn't, yeah, this
Isn't that.
invoice isn't just a hey, a $1,600 bill for our time with no backup. This is a change order for $1,600, which was an itemized breakdown, was submitted again probably a year ago, if not more, and it was approved, and then the work just wasn't done until recently. So that itemization existed in the step before this. Now they're just billing against it. So it's not a great invoice in that it's not broken down, but what they're billing against was broken down.
I think we're getting confused, Mark, because we questioned an invoice last time. And it was just a blanket price, and it seemed like, does anybody have that that invoice from last month?
I thought it was this one. It was.
Yeah, I think it's the same one.
Oh, it is the same one?
Yeah.
1600.
And again, so they're just billing against a change order that this committee has already approved. And so that's why there's no breakdown. They're saying, we submitted a change order, you approved it for 1600, now here's the bill. Because the work is done. And honestly, when they submitted this, the work wasn't done, but I think that was more of a function of they were 3 project managers into it. The new guy got on and he just said, you know, Grafton must be done by now, bill 100%, but it wasn't done. But now for them, it is at this point.
So the fact that this bill says additional project meetings virtual is not necessarily the right description. It's just
Well, they
more
had
of
a couple, yeah, it's not ideal. It should reference the change order that was approved and it doesn't. But I had a bunch of email and phone calls with them to get them out back to the site to do this work. Initially, there was some pushback from them, but then they finally worked with us and with Cynthia, the lead consultant, walked through, issued a report, made some recommendations for the town to pursue, didn't find any issues with the mechanical systems as installed. But basically they did their due diligence per this change order. So I was okay with approving it.
I have a follow-up.
Go ahead.
I think it's less for Mark. But in discussing this one invoice, there was an email thread attached. It looked like from the thread that the request to get the itemized list was only made last Friday. And I was wondering if it went out sooner than that, or if there was a reason that that request was delayed.
This is Beth. I asked in construction meetings for that information, and when I didn't get it and realized our meeting was pending, I followed up myself on Friday. And I did get a response from Evan from Colliers, who came out and did a walkthrough on August 31st and then provided a very detailed report.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll take a vote. Beth,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
and Mary, aye. Declare that motion carried. Is there another one? Another bill?
So this is Beth. I did not receive any other bills, and in fact, this meeting was scheduled because several weeks ago I asked if we would have a bill from CTA Construction to bill against some more of what we had withheld, and was told yes. So that's why I set this meeting tonight, but I have not received a bill.
Yeah,
Okay.
CTA, I think they a month ago, they planned on billing against the doors that were recently installed at the community room in the teens. There was one punch list item remaining. There's a rattle on one of the inoperative doors. And so Matt from CTA, he just withheld billing until there were 0 punch list items. So I expect in September, he'll bill against that.
Okay,
So this time next month, the 2 biggest things they had, and they've had for the last couple of months, had been the outstanding mechanical issues, which were tied up with the commissioning, which has since been completed, and these doors in the community room and teen center, which have since been completed. So assuming they resolve this one punch list item, I expect them to be billing a month from now, close to, if not 100%.
Just a quick clarification, and I'm sorry if this isn't necessary, but it's not an inoperative door. It's a double pair of double doors.
I'm sorry, you're right.
And there's an active leaf and an inactive leaf. The inactive leaf does not have a lock set. It does have slide bolts to lock it in place so that the leaf with the lock set holds in place when the room is locked. So the door functions. It's just the rattle in the door that they need to sort out.
Yeah, I should have said inactive. You're right, Ron, sorry.
I just didn't, no problem. I just didn't want anyone to misunderstand.
Right.
Okay. All right, then. So no change orders, Mark, at this time? Because we're waiting on the,
Yeah, the change orders are done.
Final.
It'll just be the final pay app or the penultimate pay app. Again, which the things looming over this committee really from the beginning of the year have been the commissioning report and those doors, and at least everything's done at this point.
okay. And do you have an update? We're up to the clerk of the works. Do you have an update for all of us on all these water issues and everything else? Should we get into that now?
Sure. I mean, the water issues we've never had since construction started issues on the children's room side of things where the wetlands, all that are, and just had that issue with the recent, huge storm that we had a couple of weeks ago and the flooding and so forth. And talking to William, it sounded like the library was not alone in having issues with water. And from the sound of it, it sounded like water was just streaming down the embankment on the backside of the building adjacent to the wetlands, and just it was almost like a brook for a short amount of time. So it was a tremendous amount of rain in a short amount of time, and doors frankly aren't set up to stop that kind of water infiltration. So and it was amazing. The one issue that we've had is on the opposite side of the building, the teen room door that empties out into the plaza or the patio. There we've had issues, and that's kind of a funky little corner which could lend itself to having water problems, and I think we've resolved those. But during that freak storm that we had, that door stayed dry while the other side of the building just got hammered. So unfortunately, it's not a CTA issue, it's not an installation issue, it's not a something that was installed incorrectly. But we did talk today at the construction meeting, and when they come out to, William asked me when they come out to review this rattling noise that Ron referenced at the community room doors, Chandler's going to look at those exterior doors to see if there's something else that they could do to prevent, if this were to ever happen again, just to prevent that level of water infiltration.
Does anybody have any comments or concerns about that?
I do have a question or a couple comments.
Sure.
So a couple things. One is, do we know what the current system's capacity is for removing water? I mean, is that a design specification? Because I'm not sure there's just enough drains in that area to take that water away. I mean, I know I recognize that it was I don't know whether it's once in a year or once in every other year event, but it didn't seem like any of that water was going down those drains from the videos that I saw. So that was one question I have, is like, when we design, like whoever designed that drainage system, is it designed for a certain capacity?
Well, Ron, you can jump in, correct me, but I don't know if it's related, but on the opposite side of the building by the book drop, we're having issues with water in a downspout, and Beth was sending us videos of like puddling at the bottom and so forth. But one of the most recent videos almost indicated that the water was actually bubbling up, which would indicate that there's blockage below. So William was going to have the DPW just flush the underground lines just to clear them of any potential blockage. And right now, DPW is kind of straight out with the end of year, start of the school year, so forth. They're running around, but the hope was when things calm down, they'd come out and snake those lines. So on the side that we had the water problem, I would recommend, if they're going to be out there going through that exercise anyway, they might as well snake the underground lines on the other side, because there may have been a blockage or enough of a blockage that when that level of water, or maybe that level of water pushed a bunch of mulch or something down the drain, clogged the drain, and then the drain was at least temporarily ineffective. And that's what caused the ponding. I don't think it's a capacity issue. I think it's it just functionally at that time, it wasn't working the way it was intended, but I think it was caused to work incorrectly because of the level of blockage or something going on. I think, but that's William was going to have the DPW just check that out.
Is it easy to test if it's actually downhill from the community patio to the catch basin? Because that was my other thought, was when we looked at the video, it almost looks like, yeah, something backed up and it just started collecting in the community patio. And I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it was really draining into the catch basin like it's supposed to.
It is when they snake the lines, they can also video the lines and determine if the water's flowing downhill, so to speak, the way it was intended. And so we'll know more after they'll do the video. Typically what happens, they'll do the video, they'll find a blockage, they'll clear the blockage, re-video it, make sure everything's flowing the way it's supposed to, and then you should be good.
To answer the question on design criteria, there are guidelines basically based on the region that you're constructing in and the average rainfall in that area over whatever period of time they collect data for. And the roof, the gutters, and all of the drain lines leading to the storm drains are designed to that criteria. So it is designed to the criteria for that region, the amount of rainfall for that region.
Okay. And then, sorry, I do have another question. The community patio, so that's where there were like 5 inches of standing water sitting up against that door.
Right.
So it's not surprising. I'm assuming, based on what Mark said, those doors just aren't designed to hold back standing water. But the community patio itself, I'm assuming, should be pitched away from the building. Right. I mean, it should, if there was only an inch of water, right, it should generally not be up against the building. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's almost like a sidewalk that it might feel flat, but it's not really. It really kind of pitches away from the building.
Yeah.
And I think that is the case, but when everything just got flooded and it wasn't draining, the water had nowhere to go, so it just sat there. And the weak point was the pair of doors, and so it just went under the door.
Yep.
Are the drains draining into that retention or detention pond? Is that where the water goes?
I don't believe that's the case. I believe and Ron, correct me, but I believe they head out into the parking lot into a structure, or structures plural, in or past the parking lot. On that other side, there's a detention area by the railroad tracks. There's a kind of a detention.
Right.
Space.
That's what I'm asking. That's where the outflow is supposed to go, and that's what that structure is supposed to catch all
Correct.
this water. Okay.
Right. And it sounds like a lot of the water never got there because it was blocked for some reason.
Yeah, because we can't keep saying, oh, it's been an extraordinary season with water, because we're going to have that. And we built right next to wetlands, so hopefully that was taken into consideration. I like the point that Doug made about have we met those? I mean, we're assuming that we met all of the criteria for this environment, but have we? And are things sloped away from the building? I mean,
Right.
for it to stand like that would be, I mean, maybe we'll just have more answers when we get the video back, or when they snake the lines, Mark.
Yeah, I think I would be concerned if they snake and video the lines and they say there's no blockage and everything is free and clear, then I would be concerned. But I wouldn't expect that to be the case.
I mean, I know the 3 drains that are on the children's side had a porous membrane on them, and those were intact. So I don't I honestly don't think any mulch came in through one of those 3 drains, whether it came
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, what I'm wondering is if it, even if it's designed to spec, but it still just can't handle these one-off events, do we need to put in additional drainage in that
Right.
back area?
Mhm. Okay.
I mean, ultimately, that's the town's job, right? Not the building committee's job, I think.
Right.
Right, if they've designed it to the criteria that was set, then there's nothing we can do at this point. Okay. Anything else, Mark, you want to share?
No, other than we've still been meeting every Monday afternoon at 4. The meetings are getting shorter and shorter, and we're very close. Like I say, the commissioning report, Cynthia, the lead consultant, said this afternoon that she's very close to uploading that, and then we start the formal lead review process. And that by default will cross off 2 or 3 items that's been on our punch list. One thing, just because we're talking about it, John, maybe you can help. One item on the minutes, the meeting minutes that we review each Monday is the status of the revised ADA sign that's in the front of the existing library.
I
On
think
our end,
at the last meeting, we approved
we
the
did.
the most recent revision that Ron did.
Okay, that was the understanding, but we didn't know formally. So, so really, there are only like 4 or 5 items on the meeting minutes. That's one of them, the sign. 2 or 3 of them are tied up to commissioning or lead related things, and then the other is the doors. This, in which case, there's one punch list item left on the doors, and then William is trying to chase down a quote from a local vendor to install the humidifier. If you remember us talking about that in the special collections area, and that's technically that's outside CTA's contract. That's just a town thing, but we're trying to help William move that along. So there's not a lot that we're talking about, but we still have a couple items. But again, I think this meeting next month, it has the potential of being the last meeting needed for the building committee.
Okay. All right. And Ron, do you have anything else? Or are you all good?
I'm good. I don't have anything in addition to what Mark mentioned.
Okay.
So, Ron, the plan that you sent, or the design that you sent to us,
Yes.
that you put I think the request was, and I can't remember what the incline, we were requesting an incline rather than a flat sign.
Yes.
Is that, do you have to send it to Mark? I don't know where that needs to go so that
To be built.
right.
That is outside of the contract. So the town would need to find a vendor to fabricate the sign stand, print the plaque, so to speak, with a map
Right.
that goes onto it, and then have it installed.
So I
So
think John, William can handle that.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
just going to say William can chase that down. And I'm always available if their vendor has questions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, nothing else on the Historic District Commission?
We did talk about, we had a meeting a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and discussed, but we don't have an application, that there was, the library is interested in putting a composition. What is it, Doug?
Compost.
Compost.
I'm getting close. Compost, bin, a flagpole, and a rain barrel. And I think if you could, submit an application, then we can officially make decisions. Unofficially, the discussion was we're probably okay with the compost bin behind the little fenced in storage shed, even though you can see it from the street. It's somewhat hidden by that little storage area. The rain barrel, we need more information on. And then the flagpole, all of us thought there used to be a flagpole. So we're all kind of scratching our head that we really all thought there used to be a flagpole. And we're just like dumbfounded. But again, it's going to have to be asymmetrical. So we talked about, is it better if it's by the new entrance? Is it better on the common? If it's on the common side, is it closer to the Grafton Inn? If it's going to be, because it can't be right in the middle because of the sidewalk. So come up with the plan that you want, and then we can have the meeting and vote on it.
Yeah, and those 3 items are all on me.
Okay. That was going to be my next question, Doug.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the location and the submission or whatever is all up to the trustees, or I should say, will be submitted on behalf of the trustees.
Yeah, and I don't think that this committee needs to be involved with that. I mean, it could be with the like you said, the trustees and the commission. So that does not need to keep this committee intact just to deal with that. That can be dealt with the trustees.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Yeah, Doug, go.
Yeah,
for
sorry,
it.
one more question, I guess, for Ron and Mark, based on your experience. So, one of the things that you do when there's floods is you put those little sandbags at the door thresholds.
Yep.
Do those things actually work? Like, is that something we should plan on having in kind of emergencies? Is something that you put a sandbag on the outside of the door or on the inside?
They do work. It certainly can't be a long-term solution, because you can't, if somebody's in the building, they're trying to get out, and they can't because the sandbags are preventing them or making it harder for them to get out.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that. But if you know of an event coming and it's a preparedness type of thing, and you get the sandbags out on that side of the building, certainly you can do that. And you'll see a lot of like coastal towns will have at the ready, sandbags by the back door or something like that. So it wouldn't be uncommon to do that. And yes, they do work.
Yep, that's great. I was just wanting to make sure that they actually work if we're going to think about it.
Yep.
The other question I have, I have no experience with sandbags or flooding like that. But can they be put away from the door to dam the water so that the door still opens, but it's a perimeter outside of the door that keeps the water at bay? John, Mark, do you have any experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, typically when I've seen them, they're right up against the building, or right up against, in this case, the doors. But if they work against the door, you could theorize they'd work away from the door. And if you made like a 6-foot half circle, away from the door, so that people could get out in an emergency and the water would stay clear. Or Doug, maybe you make a little dam around, a straight line behind the drains, so the water gets to the drains, and then you kind of force it into the drains. You don't let it go any further. So I think there's something that certainly could be done than just sitting back and letting the water, do what it did the last time we had that huge storm.
Great, thanks.
Anyone else?
This is Beth. I did purchase some, I think they're like high tech. They're called Pig Socks. They're a gel sandbag that holds anywhere from 1 gallon to 1.5 gallons of water. So we have a dozen or so on site for in case of an emergency, and we did try them over the weekend. We took in a tiny bit of water in the community room door again during the book sale. So it's not a problem that's gonna go away.
Mm-hmm.
That's unusual.
Yeah, and it was pooling by the staff door, and that book drop. Again. I don't think it
Yeah,
was coming.
that's
Yeah.
very unusual, but if a drain or drains plural are blocked
Yeah,
and they haven't been unblocked, then we're gonna keep having this problem until they're cleared.
I reached out to a company so that I don't have to wait for DPW because they're understaffed with lots of projects, so we'll try and get it taken care of sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, a call to adjourn. 6:32. Somebody want to make a motion?
Are we gonna definitely meet next month
Well, we're gonna
Or do
wait
we-
until we find out,
from CTA?
yep, when we get the final rec.
Okay,
So I make a motion at 6:32 to adjourn.
Second, second,
Thank you. Vote by roll call. Beth,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
John,
aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Andy,
I,
Doug,
aye.
Prabu,
Aye.
and Mary. Aye. Thanks, everyone.